So now we can get into multiplying and dividing. So we're picking up from where we left off in section 6.2. And first let's look at our key phrasings for multiplying and dividing. So for multiplying two numbers together, the result is the product. The result from dividing is the quotient. So now we have all four expressions. So we got sum for addition, difference for subtraction, product for multiplication, and quotient for division. Now, the nice thing about the rules, though, are that the rules are the same. So if we have multiplying and division, the rules are the same, so we don't have to memorize a ton of different rules. So what are the rules? If we're multiplying or dividing two numbers with the same sign, the product or quotient is always positive. So we don't care about how big they are or small they are. If they have the same sign, it's always positive. The signs are different, then it's always negative. That's it. So it's pretty nice. And of course, if we try to divide by 0, then good luck with that because it's undefined. All right, so let's do a few examples just to make sure you got it down. So we're multiplying negative 12 times negative 2. Now, if you're a little rusty with the notation for multiplication, this is one way that we can do it. We can use parentheses around the numbers and we squish them right tight together. That means multiplication. Now, if you wanted to write it differently, you could say negative 12, and you can use a raised dot. That's another way to say multiplication. Or you could use the X. That's pretty old school, but that's also used. So that's pretty much the variety of ways. There's probably even more, but that's probably the most that you're going to see. In any of these cases, though, we're going to get that this is equal to what? You got it. It should be positive because they're both the same sign, positive 24. So let's let's see if we can do the next one. Now, division is the same type of idea. So for division, we got this notation here, which is fairly standard, fairly old school. We could also write it as a fraction. We could put negative 18 over 3. That also implies that it's division. And we can even use a slash if you wanted to, negative 18 with a slash and a 3. But in all of those cases, what do you get for an answer? And hopefully you're saying that we get a negative 1 and negative 6. So that should be our answer. So far so good, right? All right, let's try a little bit more involved one. So we got three numbers we're multiplying together. So what do you think the answer is going to be on this one? Is it going to be positive or negative? Well, hopefully you're saying it's positive. And if you are correct. Now why? Well, if we multiply the first two numbers together first, you will get a negative number. And because now you're multiplying two negatives, you will get a positive answer. So you should get a positive 72 from that. Now, some of you might have said, well, do I have to multiply it that way, or could I multiply it a different way? Some of you probably said, could I multiply the two negative numbers together first? The answer is yeah. If you had done that, you would have got 9 times 8, because negative times negative is positive. 9 times 8 is still 72. So you still get the same answer. All right, how about the next one? The next one, well, we got a little bit of two divisions going on. But because we got something up on the top side of the fraction, usually you want to simplify the top and the bottom of a fraction first before you do that final division. And that's the case here. So in this case, we get 36 divided by 2, which better be 18. But now we're dividing two different signs, so the answer better be negative. So we should get a negative 3. Now, how about this next one? This one's really got a lot of layers to it. Can you look at that, though, and tell me if the answer is going to be positive or negative? The answer is yeah. There's a trick with those signs. How many of them do we got? If you count them, you can see we got 4 signs in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So because there's an even number of signs, they're all going to pair up. so they're all going to cancel out. So you should end up with a positive answer. Now, if you're not 100% sure about that, you can just go through it step by step. So I'm going to group together the first two. I'll group together the second two. First two should give me a negative answer. The second two should give me a positive answer. And then we still got the negative 1. All right, so if we group together these two, we're going to get a negative 120. And we still got to multiply it by a negative 1, which gives you that positive answer we expected. So positive 120 should be your answer for that. All right, let's try one more. Now this one is tricky because it gets into the order of operations, which some of you think you might know, but you might have some issues with it. So let's see what happens. So we got some division, we got some multiplication, and we got some more division. Where do we start? Well, hopefully you remember that parentheses are always where you want to start. So if there's something to do inside of those parentheses, you got to do that first. So that means we want to do the 12 divided by negative 4. Everything else I'm just going to write down. So 12 divided by negative 4, different signs, so the answer better be negative. So that's going to give you a negative 3. All right, so we got 48 divided by 3 times negative 3. Now, what do we do next? Some of you are saying, well, I think I remember the order of operations. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, PEMDAS. Yes, that's it. Well, PEMDAS is useful to kind of keep them in order, but it's not perfect. Because some of you would say, okay, I got to do this multiplication next. That's what PEMDAS says, but that's not quite right. So, and I'll show you why. Because in this case, if we did the multiplication first, you're going to get a negative 9 here. And so 48 divided by negative 9 is not a nice answer. It's actually a pretty yucky one. I think it's like 6.6666 or something like that. So, and it's going to be negative to boot. Actually, it's not negative 6.6. I can't even divide in my head anymore. Terrible. Whoop, sorry about that. Okay, but at any rate, this is not going to be the right answer. So, because it doesn't quite follow the rule to the letter of how the order of operations work, the rule says that if you are stuck between doing multiplication and division, you have to go from left to right. That's the rule. So in this case, we have to do the division first before we do the multiplication. So if we divide those, we'll get 16. And then if we multiply it by negative 3, we're going to get back to 48, but it's going to be negative. So negative 48 should be your answer for that problem. So a lot of layers to this, and it's going to get even more layers because now the next part is going to get into the order of operations. So we're really going to see how all those nuances come together. So we're going to stop the video here, and then we'll pick up the last bit of this section in the next one. See you in a minute.